name's Keith Kelso. I work at Michigan Sugar Company. I'm the Agricultural Operations Manager. In my position, I work with all our harvest systems that our growers have. I work with logistics and moving beets around from field to field and from factory to factory. So today we're talking about harvest and what we can do to improve on our harvest, if anything. Our growers do a great job of planting and taking care of excellent high quality crop. They do a great job of harvesting, but there's always something that possibly could be lacked or something that could be improved on. These beets can be prepared for long-term storage so that once they get into the pile, they can store, we can cool them down, they can store for as long as we need them to. The soil is something that really impacts. It's harder for us to pile the beets, and it's much harder for them to store. Some of our growers have self-propelled harvesters which have scalpers on them for the defoliation phase of harvest. And a scalper goes through and actually takes the scalp right off of the beet. Obviously this is what a scalp looks like. You know, it's got the leaves intact, it's got part of the crown. Generally what we recommend is to leave as much of the crown as you can in the field where you don't want it to hurt your yield, but the most impurities of the beet are in the crown. So if we're having a lot of crown material with leaf material, we actually could improve our sugar content if we left some crowns in the field. So obviously on a self-propelled harvester, we have no choice because that's their main mode of defoliation. But we generally say about the size of this, which is about the size of a silver dollar. Of course, if you have a really tall crown and a lot of petioles and leaves going down the side of it, we may have to make this more aggressive and actually cut this scalp farther down. But we're not as concerned about the volume or the weight of the beet we're leaving in the field. We're more concerned to get that leaf material off so that we can have no leaves, and actually the beet will store better. It's going to produce less heat and it'll burn less energy. So these things are very important for the long-term storage so that when we put our beets in our piles, they can store 3, 4, 5 months down the road and give us a high quality crop, give us a very good beet payment, and make the most sugar that we can make.
I'm Tom Wadsworth, owner of Wadsworth Farms Incorporated in Sandusky, Michigan, and we're also the dealers of the Vervaet beet harvester. When I first get to the field, what I like to do is get the topper adjusted first, and I like to lower that low enough so I get most of the foliage off without scalping the beets with the topper. And quite often you'll have to change the topper. Going across the field, you might have to raise the topper up or lower it down, or you get in the sprayer track, then you're gonna have to get one topper wheel down to keep that topper up so it's not scalping beets. And if you get the topper too high, then the scalpers really can't do a nice job scalping the beet if you got too much top left on it. We normally run the topper at 800 RPMs, but last year we found with the amount of leaf spot we had and dead leaves laying on the ground, we found that when we sped it up to 1,000, it seemed to want to lift them leaves off the ground somewhat and chop them up, so we were not putting them through the harvester and into the beets. And then after that, I'll adjust the scrapers for a certain height, so I'm scalping roughly 70–75% of the beets. It's pretty hard to get all the beets scalped. And if you try to get all the beets scalped, then you're scalping pretty deep to get them all scalped. The scalper is going to scalp the remaining top off the beet. But if you look ahead of the scalper, between the scalper and the topper, if the topper's too low, you'll see where the topper itself is scalping the beet. And I don't mind seeing a few of them just every once in a while, but if you have the topper down too far, you'll scalp so much beet and actually cost yield. And then after that, I'll come back and I'll make sure I've got my digging shears deep enough to get all the beets out of the ground without going too deep. You don't want to go any deeper than you really have to, especially when you get in wet conditions. And the size of the beet matters. You might have to go a little deeper on a smaller beet than you would have to on a larger beet. And then you have the turbines back here that you set a turbine speed, and these are mostly to convey the beets back to the primary cleaning turbines. And there's a grate off to the side of it that you can lower or raise according to beet size or soil conditions. And as we go back farther, the cleaning turbines are actually under the harvester where you can speed them up and slow them down for certain conditions. And right now this field's fairly dry, so I'm running all the turbines fairly slow so I don't damage the beets or break the tips off. And as you go back through all them turbines, every turbine has a gate or a grate or tines that you can lower or raise for certain conditions. For deciding the speed of the turbines, it's pretty well what you see in the bin. If you're getting a lot of tops or a lot of dirt, you're probably going to want to speed the turbines up, but if the beets are coming out pretty clean, then you're either all right or maybe you're just running them a little bit fast. Your large beets, you can leave the grates up quite a ways to get extra dirt out or tops out. The smaller the beets are, the closer you got to run the grates to the turbine. I would say my range is probably anywhere from about 90 RPMs to maybe 120, 125 maybe. But like I said, it matters in soil conditions, and you got to run it and kind of learn it a little bit after a while, and then you can start figuring some of that stuff out.